Watching YouTube videos, how to be a lawyer.
Perfect. Okay,
All right, so we'll call it kind of amendment planning board. Moving forward. First item on our agenda tonight for May 5th is approved minutes of April 21st, 2021 meeting. Personally, the only thing I came up with was maybe a cheeky comment of the formatting. Yeah. Early that was how I come up with. That was it.
thank you. I'll fix that.
Any further discussion? I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as submitted. Second. Second from Earl. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Next item on our agenda tonight is the Austin site plan for requesting reapproval of the site plan originally approved in 2012, located on Cheese Factory Road, consisting of approximately 1.08 acres. Tax account 224.01-1-38.1. Want to hear the representative there? Yes, come on up. Introduce yourself.
My name is Elizabeth Austin. I'm in the process of purchasing the acre on Hughes Factory Road. Contingent on the site plan being approved. And if that goes through okay, then I'll continue with the closing. Move forward.
Nice to meet you. So this was originally approved, like you said, in 2012.
Yes, that's correct.
The Environmental Conservation Board took a look at this. They had some comments about concerns groundwater coming off the back hill. And they noticed that it did not have any heat pots, and they did not see any issues with it as well.
Okay.
This is through. Now, I saw a letter from the Department of Health which issued the reapproval, correct?
For the septic, correct?
Reapproval of septic. This is going to be on the well system. See, you have some swales. Our fellow planning board members who are fairly familiar with the site. It's a steep hill going up to the back part of the lot. See a couple of swales there, the divert. Any storm water that does come down, I think it's pretty sandy soil, so probably not a lot of storm water coming down. The one thing I did note, it's the setback to the front
Sure.
is minimum of 60 foot, and it's listed on here as 60 foot exactly.
Right.
We've had a couple applications that have come back recently because when they get out there, I don't know who's gonna be digging the holes, and I'm not gonna say anything about whoever is digging the basement, but sometimes those excavators show up on site and say, okay, this must be the basement spot, and start digging.
I see.
And we've had some applications that come back because they start digging in a different spot, and I'd hate to see you come back because it ends up being 59 foot,
Right.
or going to the ZBA or anything like that, so, you know. It's just one thing to think of, I mean.
No, I know, we can make, I'll make sure that, the issue with the lot, I don't know if you've walked it, it is a steep hill and you can't touch the woods, correct? I mean, I couldn't take some trees down that start the woods, is what they told me. And so the backyard is gonna be quite small if I don't do 60 feet.
Okay, so I think I misspoke when I read this, well, no, it does say This does say it doesn't have any heat pads on it, but I noticed on the site plan, you do have a steep slope.
I don't really know what to do.
It's an environmental protection overlay district.
Oh, okay, no, I thought there was, I went there with the realtor and the current owner, Charlie Battle,
Okay.
and he said that you could not touch the wooded area.
So, yes, you're correct. There are restrictions on what you can do there.
Sure,
And if you were to talk about, you would have to look at it with development within the,
okay.
you are correct.
Okay. So that's why, you know, we show it on the line of 60 feet.
Just so you're aware.
Sure, no, I
You know,
appreciate the info.
And, you know, if it's pushed back a little bit, I don't think there's an issue from our standpoint whatsoever.
So with the sites like that.
And yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's 21 foot on the side, so just, you know, if you go to the east, that's when we would have to come back to us or the zoning board of appeals.
Okay,
Or if you come back towards the road.
right.
I see our temporary topsoil stockpile, I see our leach field, everything that we typically look for in our plans, I see on here. I did not see any comments. The 60 foot, you're definitely, that is exactly what you should be.
Okay,
Turn around and then
yeah,
that's being 10 feet.
okay.
And now it's about
Is it, okay.
Talk to the highway department did not have any comments on the site plan. Talked with the fire marshal, I think I forwarded that email to everybody. With regards to the fire marshal, we did not have any comments or concerns on the site plan. So having said that, Don, if I'm not mistaken, with regards to seeker, have previously approved, is a type 2 action. So no further consideration needs to be taken with regards to seeker. We have our letter from the Department of Health, so subject is to be approved. So I guess one thing that I did hear was a condition from Tom would be that turnaround needs to meet town amendment criteria for separation distance to the property line. There's no further discussion on this, and I'm sorry, we are here for preliminary and final approval, correct? Final approval. So if there's no further discussion with any of my fellow planning board members, I can make a motion for conditional approval. Motion here a second. Second, Chris. Further discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Thank you very much. Michelle will be in touch with you with the conditional approval and next steps.
Yeah, thanks.
Beautiful lot.
It is nice.
Yeah, you're welcome.
The next item on our agenda is the Rocky site plan amendment. Requesting approval of an amended site plan located on Carolina Drive. 6 acres, tax account number 191-04-1-8.23.
I'm Doug Elbert from Collective Site Engineering.
Good, sir. Good, how are you?
And so I'm fooling around, doing some projects here, and there, keeping out of trouble. So this is Joe Rossi, who's bought the lot, who wants to build a house on the lot. The lot's a tight one. The original house was approved here on the left, in this location, a little bit further to the west. And the septic system was it's a fill system because of the tight soils and high groundwater. It was actually approved illegally because it was too close to the pond. So when I started to get it reapproved, and what I did first was just went to the health department for reapproval. I didn't realize that we needed to come before you. I apologize. We decided the best place to put the septic system was along the west property line. They've got 4 kids. They didn't want to run over a hump in the back and playing ripple ball too. So we moved it over there and got the approval on that. And then we were messing around with the house locations, got some high groundwater. So from the original design, we revised it. Septic systems approved. The house we graded accordingly for the high groundwater, and I think we're in nice shape. There's a wetland in the back. There's an easement over here. There's a stormwater pond. We're maintaining all the required septic distances to those various features. One thing we did point out we were thinking about doing, the originally approved plan had a driveway that was on the maintenance drive for the pond on the west side of the pond. When I was talking to Corey, he says, well, you got the house closer to the pond now. Apparently they never put it in the beginning. Even though this was approved many, many years ago. So I said, well, why don't we put it on the east side? And then it would be farther from the house. Corey was concerned, should I get in there with a muck digging out backhoe or something, then be close to the house. So we're asking you to do that. The only kind of issue is in this back area, there's a woodlot depot, but there really aren't any trees in that area. In fact, I've got some photos. But all these photos are from the road. I'm going to take a look at them. And it's on the right side of the photo. The pond goes. So there's really, like I said, there's not any trees per se or to worry about in that area. Corey said the 2 for it, we need to approve putting it in. So it's on the right side. You want to move it to, you can see there's some trees on the left side. The other thing is Joe does want to, maintain it aesthetically. So he's kind of volunteering to do that. He hopes that you folks don't mind, keep the weeds out, maybe put a fountain in it. We might have to kind of approval from you folks, but
It is a stormwater.
it's a stormwater.
For stormwater for the management and treatment of it, so.
Yes.
The only thing that I was looking to do is right now there's algae growing over it. There's somehow limited water, so whether it be an aerator of some sort, just so that with mosquitoes and bugs, kind of quite honestly, aesthetically for neighbors, it doesn't look very good. So I would consult with a pond company, clearly aquatics was one, which I think is based on this side of town, just to look at, see what the options were without affecting the integrity of the ponds or the storm water drainage itself. Just essentially something that would float on top that would shoot the water up to kind of move it so that the algae and mosquitoes would breathe.
I'm sorry, can we have a couple of those pictures for the file?
Oh, sure.
Just, you did this, do it so we can have it in the file.
Can I actually have a peek at this stuff?
Oh, sure. Yep.
What we should look at with the pond is, it being that it's a stormwater pond, first of all, it should be moving, it shouldn't be stagnant. So it might need maintenance. If I'm not mistaken, and I might be, I think that it's a town pond, or is it?
It's in the drainage.
It's in a drainage easement, so it's a town pond. And the one concern that I would have is if you did put something in there, is the town can come in and dig it out. That is, and they're not required to maintain it. It's something you would have to go through with the highway department, and probably, to be honest with you, would be the town board. I think that was kind of outside the purview of the planning board to do anything.
And minimal, my intention was very minimal, with the understanding that if the town had to come in to do any site work, then I may lose whatever's in there, but when I say minimal, I mean, an electrical wire, but the way it's been described to me is it's a float, just like in a pool, just circulating the water, but I understand.
Okay. I think you're familiar with those, aren't you, Chris? No, I know we work with those sometimes. No? I'm mistaken. All right. We did get some comments from the Environmental Conservation Board. So we believe the proposed development is outside of EPOD. We do not believe it's accurately represented on the plan. Other EPODs are also outside of the development covered under conservation easement. Placement of the access road does seem to work in the new plan with the location of the house. I talked with the highway superintendent with regards to the pond and the road. He said, typically if the road is there, no one would really know it was there. It's more of an access way. They wouldn't plan on putting gravel down. They wouldn't go in. They wouldn't plan on going in when it was wet.
Oh, they're not looking for grant?
They may in the future, but not today. They would usually just go in, he said, and lock it out when they have to.
Okay.
Now, I did also hear from him with regards to the driveway location.
Okay.
I forwarded that email to everybody at the planning board. The new driveway location is in an area that's gonna have snow during snow removal. There is an appendix in our design criteria, and I might have requested the wrong one, appendix F, I believe, that shows that there is no driveway placement, and it's very close. Yeah, I have a copy if you'd like to take a quick look at it. It's this area right there.
Oh, we're not in there.
And one thing I'd like to see is that area on the plans
Okay.
and some kind of a buyer beware note really on there is you need to understand that you're gonna have some extra snow at the end of your driveway that you're gonna have to take care of with these snow removal.
Well, if I could just, what's the, yeah, in the driveway. Oh, okay, so because the area that you're speaking about is not where the driveway is intended to be located.
It's close.
It's very close, and I think, we'd like to see that on the plan.
Yeah, you can see it's this interior curve, or it goes the other way. So it goes from there to there.
And yeah, I'd like to see that on there and a note that
Okay.
says, the applicant is aware that this is either within or adjacent to the area of snow storage.
Okay,
Okay,
so, go ahead.
as I went through the plans, I'm sorry, we also had some comments from Labella. I didn't know if you got a copy of those.
I did, and I actually have addressed everything on the letter.
Okay,
I have it available. I don't know if you want to go through item by item or just pick out one you want, just give them a show. Well, it's 40 hours. We have anything that you want to go over? Or if you want to go through all of them? Your choice.
it's up to you if you want to go through all of them.
Well,
Please don't let me stop you. I just wanted to, some of them I think were related to the septic system.
Yeah,
Whereas, they could be pertinent, that I think that really kind of falls to the Department of Health. A couple of things as we're going through, if you want to go through is, that I came up with is the water in the basement, and this is in no exact order. There's a French drain right by the septic, and it ends up being extended to within the conservation easement, the pods, and it's a point source discharge within that area. Proposed access road in the E-Pod, I think you've already addressed. I drove by the site today. I noticed that they're currently pumping out the basement, And there is a point source from that excavation going into the stormwater pond and another one going into the federal wetland. So we should see notes on there that talks about erosion and sediment control. I'm thinking a silt sock or silt bag or something. It shouldn't be a point source discharge going to,
I mean, are you talking about the,
they have trash pumps in the basement right now.
oh, for that? Oh.
Yeah. And they're going directly into
Yeah, so
the
that
wetlands.
is not for the reason it's gonna be because the initial location, groundwater was high. So we moved the house and raised the house 3 feet, so there won't be any more pumping per se
Okay,
of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you're worried about the French drain, the point source, I could put a little level sprayer, something like that if you want to spread it out a little bit.
okay.
But I
was
did
thinking
like to, my
regards to
concern
location
was
with
that
septic.
we have a lot of water trips
Yeah.
between the driveway and the septic system, because this is where the pervious section of the septic system is, so I didn't want that to be continually wet, which is why I put the French drains.
Looking on your detail, it shows that your French drain is up against the sand fill.
Yes,
I mean, which, I have concerns, are you gonna short circuit from that sand fill into that French drain, which then goes north back to the depots of the
which is
wetlands?
the top of the sand hill, so it's no different than any sand hill. That's where if there's seepage, that's where it comes out,
Okay,
so it's the same location.
okay.
15 feet.
What if the septic system fails?
Pardon?
What if the septic system fails?
In what manner?
Septic systems fail, you blow effluent out of the sand fill. And you would be conveying that blowout through that front drain.
So the septic system does the treatment. Then in this case, it gets pumped up to the leach field. And that effluent filters through the sand. So there's extra filtration, if you will. Once it goes, I'm sorry.
I'm checking my.
So, so there's no difference other than it's not a swale, it's a French drain. It's French drain just because the elevations doesn't allow it to drain out by gravity to raise the house. So I was worried about, water collecting in that area, having no place to go. But therefore send it out, but the intent of the pond design and everything, by the way, I sent it to the health department too, and explained this to them. And they were fine with it. I could take it out, if I take it out, I was just worried about all that water collecting in that area, because the soils to the north are impervious. So you end up,
What's the general surface drainage in that area?
pardon?
The general, how does the
So it
general
drains,
surface?
it'll drain out here and then out this way.
As today, how does it flow?
It drains that way.
Okay. So if there is a problem with the septic system to where it blows out sometime between the day that it gets installed and it begins to fail.
Well, there's a surface swale over the top of the
I understand.
French drain. So it all ends up in the same place, whether it's failing or not,
Okay.
which is no different than any other. I think the important thing was it didn't have the proper separation before, now it does.
I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that French drain is up tight to it and it does fail. It will follow the French drain out.
Oh, okay, it's 15 feet away, which is the same as the toe on the taper for the.
So your detail that
sand.
shows it up against the sand fill is not accurate.
No, here's the edge of the sand fill. The detail is just up the French drain itself. So here's the top of the sand fill is over here, and the French drain is over there, 15 feet away. Look at the toe of the sand fill taper. It's part of the fill system design. take a look here. Yeah. So here's the detail, probably can't see it, but there's sand here, there's impervious fill around two sides, and the taper is over here. So the French drain is over here at the end of the taper.
Okay, on the upper right-hand corner, the front drain detail,
Yeah, this just shows the swale that's over the top of it.
what's the verbiage right to the left of the detail? That's right
Sand
above
fell
this.
along each bed.
Okay. Shows it below right,
Pardon?
that shows it below right.
Yeah, the taper comes down to this point. But it also goes down to the existing grade. So there will be sand fill up against it. Maybe that's what's confusing.
Okay.
But it is 15 feet away. From the sand fill itself, to the sand bed, is the flat area.
Mhm.
When you have a taper, it's a pervious taper. What I'm saying is, the taper comes down like this, and once I get 15 feet away, I put in French drain there. But there is still some sand against the French drain because the ground is higher due to groundwater concerns.
What's the invert of that orange PVC of that French drain?
669.5 right at that point. 670.0 at that point. And the sand bed is 76.5. See that?
What's it?
69.5.
It looks like down by the road where it begins, 670.5.
The top, so the top of the sand bed is 676.5.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're actually 6 feet below that invert.
Okay. So the pipe invert where you begin is 670.5 and. where it
7.5 at the
discharges-
south side and then 69.5 feet. Halfway up. 7.5, 69.5, 68. Right there. Okay. So this might help. So the bed's 76.5. The swale line is at 73. So 3.5 feet lower.
Mhm.
And then the invert is 69.5. From 73 to 69.5 is another 3.5 feet. Three.
What is the required separation from leak bed to French drain? Is there a required separation?
Not really. I did, actually, I pointed this out specifically when I sent it back to the health department
Okay.
for review. I'm gonna make sure that everything is okay with that.
So the hole that is there that's getting pumped out now
Mhm.
is not the footprint of the house.
It is, but it's back farther. And it was at a lower elevation. And we get the groundwater, so we changed the plan, we brought it closer to the front and raised it 2.5 feet. Because of the groundwater. It's more-
I would have loved to have known that before the dig was done.
Yeah.
The prior builders no longer employed.
Yeah, I kind of got a feeling the way he's pumping it right now, he might just be cycling the groundwater.
Well, the amount that filled up in there was, that you have seen
Yeah.
4 feet. That took a number of days to come up. And the plan is, the stone was delivered today. I don't know if you were there today. You saw it was already 3 truckloads, dump trucks. They're putting in, I forgot how many feet they're putting in of the crushed stone. of
About
what-
3.5 feet.
Trying to get it up.
So, I mean, just for relevance, the pond elevation, the basement is about 3 feet above the pond elevation. So, you know, we can actually get gravity drainage out from the pond. I'm sorry, out from the basement to the pond.
I feel better now about that.
That was all today. Yeah, that was obviously misleading if you look at it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because that's, yeah, that was the one thing. Was, yeah,
Sure.
conflict that in mind.
No, you don't know what.
You're gonna need quite a sump pump if that's what the elevation is gonna be.
Well, shouldn't even, like I said, you do gravity drainage on the basement, the pond also.
Fellow planning board members. Thoughts, comments? Anything?
With regards to the snow, for the diagram, is it that the plow trucks come around the cul-de-sac and then lift the blades at that particular area to remove the pile?
What they do is they drive into the cul-de-sac, and they go to the left, they plow it into the middle, then they swing around, they dump.
Okay.
So as they come around the cul-de-sac,
Mhm.
as they come around the cul-de-sac, they dump right towards your driveway, which will be just barely to the left of your driveway.
And with the mountain that they create, is that in the center of the cul-de-sac
There is some in the center, but when they come around,
when they're
there'll be
done?
quite a
with it?
bit in the plow that they push.
Okay.
It'll be to the left of your driveway,
Okay.
majority of it.
I live in a cul-de-sac now, and that's what the town of Fairport does. So I'm used to snow blowing it out.
Yeah.
I don't think the driveway, I think we have the option to move it a few
You
feet.
can move it a few feet, I mean, it's actually pretty tight, with the grades up. Trying to keep all the grades mobile. So I don't know. If I move it further to the east, then it makes those grades steeper down to this pond, but, you know, whether there's any material difference to do that or not, I don't really know.
Where was the septic tank on this?
That tank is through. And then there's a pump. Number two.
Okay, yeah.
Number two, and the pump is number 3, and it pumps up to the show.
Force main under the driveway, give me a sleeve.
The force main, I had to put one, we could. I know the gravity ones I like you to see. That's probably a good idea. Okay.
What were you proposing for the force main? The well pipe?
Sleeve it under the driveway. Only like pavement ones.
That's a good idea.
Can I just go back for 1 minute? I had, you had said that pond was in the woodland easement? The woodland easement,
I think that is right to get in this.
right, but it comes out here, so it's, the only thing that's in it is this right here.
Well, this is the old plan,
Oh, okay.
so the new plan, we want to move to this side. This is the way it's.
Okay.
That's this one. though. Just move it to that side. So that shows it over here. We want to move it to this side over here.
Let's see. Oh, I see. Okay. Mr. Chairman, are you looking at the same thing that I am? I was looking at this.
No, I was looking at this one, yeah.
Okay.
So all the gradings outside of the drainage easement.
Yes.
So this here is all the work you're doing for the home site itself, right? You got the fence up.
Yeah, that's kind of that side. This is the pond.
Where is this? Where's the driveway?
Oh, here's the pond. You want to put it
Okay. What's coming up on this side in here, right? Through all that.
Yeah.
I see there's just like one here.
And these trees are out there, probably about 20 feet. It's just a 10-foot line.
Thanks. That's where the road would be going. And are you guys building that road?
No, sounds like the excavation. Can't see the original lot developer. But Chairman said that they're not looking for gravel or stone, so.
Yeah, he said they might not, he said most of the times they wouldn't even know that there's anything there. It's kind of more of an access point to the highway department.
I put on the revised plans and we use some 9 inches of stone, but if they're not looking for it, I would take it off.
So do we have an easement for that?
Yeah, the whole thing's in easement.
Right to the property.
Right, so the drainage easement goes all the way to the property line. And then you've got that, why the heat pad was so close to the pond to begin with. But that's where it was.
Yeah, my drawing doesn't show an easement on it, so. As long as we're sure, Chairman, that there's an easement there.
It's,
You know, it's not marked on this one.
it's,
I see the line.
the line's there, but yeah, I've added the labels to do it. Goes.
You just want to
goes from
verify
here-
that.
Yeah, so
Goes from here,
identify.
across the pond, over. Goes from here, across the pond, over here, where the property line is.
I see it. What about the next, so this section here?
This is where the heat pad is.
Yeah.
So this is what I mentioned, you over the deep dive.
Who owns this?
Yeah, it's part of the line.
Okay, it's all one.
It's all part of the line.
Yeah, what I'm saying is if we're gonna be driving the lines here, and there's no easement over that.
Oh, there it is. It goes over there.
Yeah. Oh, okay, I thought it. Okay, I see.
That I reach out to for looking at what's going on.
Can you throw a label on that for me, Doug?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me that somewhere.
Contact the department would be the first step.
So it's part of the comments I addressed.
And then the highway.
Gotcha.
I put it in the letter and I added to the plan.
Thank you.
And then probably.
Do you want one of these or is extras?
I think this was installed in 2003, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's fine. So I quickly jotted this down while you guys were talking about easement was, the note of acknowledgement for snow removal area. I was thinking, applicant is aware proposed driveway is adjacent to snow storage area and will likely result in additional snow in residential driveway.
Well, that's what I understand, but the plows aren't pushing into the driveway, it's just the overflow from the plows.
They just wanted, yeah, they
Yeah.
just, buyer beware, just want to make sure that you're aware that you're directly adjacent to that. And, you know, and it might not so much be you, it might be if you decide to sell the home in a few years and the next people come in and say, hey, why is it down on me? And
So the pond, I don't know if they send it first pond. Physically.
yeah, could be, yeah, I'm not sure, but so what I came up with based off of these conversations was, one was, sleeve in the force main under the driveway. Tom, are you looking for a specific type of sleeve or just in general? Showing plans. The area where driveways are not allowed. The note of acknowledgement, which I just, once again, is applicant is aware of proposed driveways directly adjacent to snow storage area and will likely result in additional snow in residential driveways. Fourth item that I think we guys are having a conversation about is to identify an easement line on the plan. If you have it on here, I think you just show it and call it out.
I just added the new. The lines on there, I just added the new. I didn't get the comments to this thing, so.
I think.
We didn't either.
You got them in a minute or two.
I got queries before, I signed it.
You got them as soon as we got them.
Found those, I didn't get them.
Oh, and Lavella's fellow planning board members, I don't know if you have reviewed these. A couple of these is flagging out the wetland in the EPOD during the construction.
Yeah.
There's some septic comments on here. Is the force main gonna be below the frost line or will it drain back? It'll be 4 foot deep. Okay. Erosion and sediment control details for concrete washout pit, inlet protection, silt fence, and temporary soil stockpile.
The only thing, I don't know, for a single family, you typically don't have a concrete washout pit. So I question like on that.
What we've been doing in environmentally sensitive areas is we want to know where it's getting dumped. We don't want it to be next to storm, you know how the concrete guys are. And
I should.
yeah, they'll dump right in the ponds.
Okay,
So if we can show that location,
okay, so that's the other thing I don't get really mad at.
yeah, I think you've already addressed the basement elevation. Okay.
How about, Chairman, the thing you and I never did talk about, Ryan is showing.
Yeah, and I think the drive, and we talked about also the discharge of the pipe inside of the conservation easement. I don't think we should be depicting anything on the plans inside the conservation easement.
Are you talking about the French drain?
Yeah,
It's not quite into it, but I can pull it out.
just,
I'll pull that time.
it's a sticky subject in the town. People don't think so.
But, and then the other thing is the proposed crusher run maintenance drive.
Okay.
Are we having that done or?
I think what you're saying is up to the highway.
The highway department wasn't looking for it.
Is there one there now?
No, when we looked at the plan, there's nothing there now on the left side. And then, I was talking to Joe and Steve and Tini is, and well, more importantly, Corey Gates says, that with the house movement, it's not closer to the pond. So I said to Corey, well, why don't you put it on the other side? And Corey said, good idea. But then when I put it on the other side, it's showing it inside their woodline easement. But there's no trees there. That was the point of that.
Future, if we call it future. And then that way, if somebody does have to put it in, if it's shown on there, but it's not.
Or just say it's required by.
Yeah, it's required.
It's
Future
required by.
required. Yeah.
In that case, if they're not putting it in, that would probably be us in
Yeah.
the future.
And that way, if somebody in 15 years, why are you putting in that driveway there? Well, it's.
Okay. Okay.
That's recurring, Mr. Rantini, when I bought it from him, he says he consistently runs a dozer, when he had to run a dozer 2 days, it was widening the berth at least 10, 12 feet with no obstruction all the way around it.
Yeah, and then, that's what the highway superintendent.
Push it on.
We just drive it around.
Not giving it anywhere, can't even do it again. Sorry. They're gonna get the plan.
The driveway is future is required. Number 6 is Yeah, no improvements within conservation. That begins a whole nother process. Which ends up going to the conservation.
It's actually not shown in the conservation.
And then just to reiterate, the invert for that French drain is about 6 foot below the top of the leach field. Where at least 4 foot of leaching sand in there, and it's 15 foot horizontal.
From 50.
Horizontal,
Yes,
15 foot horizontal, 4 foot vertical.
yes.
So, planning board member. Any questions on those 6 conditions? Is there possible, does any, do you disagree with any? Shall we have those?
Oh, so I'll take a cop or a picture of your notes over there when I'm ready.
You did, sir. Amen.
It's okay. It's no but worse than mine.
So then, Don, once again, if I'm not mistaken, with regards to seeker previously approved, this will be a type 2 action. So no further consideration is needed. Looking at the application, this is for final approval for amendment, correct?
Yes, there's no change in subdivision.
No further discussion with something.
I have a question.
Yes.
Would the board want to put a condition or a whereas that says you've looked at the location of the maintenance drive on the east side of the pond and you find it acceptable? Because otherwise, I think someone could say, you've shown something on the plan that's not approved by regulation. You understand what I'm saying?
It's gonna be on the plan though.
It's going to be on the plan. This is just a question. John. If you don't feel like you need it, that's fine. I just wanted to.
I think it's okay to say.
I'm sorry.
So like a whereas, would be whereas the applicant is requested to move the maintenance drive to the east side of the pond. And the planning board finds that there are no trees in the area where it would be moved to, and that the encroachment into the woodlot EPOD is acceptable. It's if you guys really need to do that, that's me. But Dan says it's on the plan, so maybe you don't need to do that.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable request, although, usually the resolution is gonna be a verbal move and approve subject to those conditions, so.
The verbal approve and then the conditions are usually revised. Unless you want to perhaps put in a note on the plan where the planning board has reviewed the new application within that. But I think we do that with our motion.
But I'm just trying to create.
No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm just asking a question.
Awesome.
If you wanted to say, these are just part of the vote, that you're also okaying the location or resolution number 7, would be the maintenance pond can be located within the woodlot EPOD. So that does it as well. I think that's probably the simplest way. And again, if you don't feel like you need it at all, don't make me talk you into it. I'm just.
You're trying to do the right thing for your client, so I think it's a reasonable ask.
If it's on the plan, that should be enough. However, if you're saying it approaches the EPOD, then you're gonna need a permit to encroach on the EPOD.
My understanding from Corey was you folks need to approve the it located within the EPOD, unless I'm wrong. I don't know.
They can approve it, but then you'll still need to get an EPOD permit from Corey.
Well, the
Correct.
applicant's not putting it in. If somebody does it in the future, it would be the highway department.
Then
So-
they'll have to
and
work
then that would
about that.
be, it's already approved on the site plan, then they would have to get a permit with, for themselves, yeah, they'd have to get. a
Work
permit.
within the EBOT.
Myself. Do this.
Yes.
It's all within.
It's all within the drainage, that's correct.
Yeah, it's on the map.
I mean, it is kind of important to my client because he doesn't want that machine next to his house if he doesn't have data. So that was the whole purpose, and actually, that was the reason that Corey brought it up to begin with.
That was one of the first things that jumped out at me when I saw it on my site plan.
There you go.
Somebody's gonna drive by,
There you
you're gonna be looking at your pond at 7 o'clock one morning, the highway crew's gonna be going through.
go. No, actually, I thought Corey made a good point, so.
Okay, so I think we got the 6 conditions. Well, any fellow planning board member feel comfortable enough with those 6 conditions to make a motion for final approval, conditional final approval?
Motion.
I have a motion from Chris, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
A second from Lauren. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained?
Thank you much.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I will read these, Michelle. Right in the,
Right in the file.
right in the file here.
You're a good man. Don't care what they say about you.
Next item on the agenda for tonight is the, stop special use permit.
I'm Julie Williams, I work with her, she's out of there. But I'm not yours in for
I think, I was not here last meeting, I don't know, Tom, if you wanted to drive the bus on this to continue, or do you want to meet with? Okay. This is for special use permit for a profit entertainment event at 1639 Pittsburgh Mountain Road, this is in 1.6 acres, tax account number 216.02-1-26, zone commercial business. Welcome. I think we were here at a previous meeting. And then we had also sent along some requests for staff to fill out, give the planning board some more information, which I think she did. Fellow planning board members, have you got a chance to go through that information? Do you have any questions?
The question I had was that she submitted the letters to the surrounding property owners. And Michelle says she has in regards to parking.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch in there.
I'm looking at one from Fair West, from the marketplace. Talking about roughing out a parking area. In his Mendon Plaza lot, here's one, from Laura at Home Wellness about this also. So there are a couple right there.
There should be more. There's
So
like,
here's more parking approvals.
okay.
From Kimberly Martin. Yes. Yes, we got it also from Ellen Miller. I'm not sure where she is.
She might be in the corner with Greg Circus there on the building. I think a bus there, I don't know.
Could be.
Assembly Drive.
Josh Van Skyver approved. He went to the Mary Fletcher email, one word. And I have an approval here also from Pilates of Pittsburgh. Chris Brush says she can use her property also, so that's London Academy. But she also says disclaimer that St. Catherine's owns behind hers.
So in reference to that, what would she have, just out in front? On 64?
To Chris Brush, yeah, she's got 3 or 4 spaces out front.
Because everything behind her is owned by church, right?
Yes. Now she also, we have the permit for the catering from the Monroe County Department of Health. We have permit from New York State Liquor Authority for D&H Mendon LLC for restaurants serving beer, wine, cider, and liquor. And Don, you and I had a conversation earlier today about, does that cover the beer truck also? So we talked about conditioning the approval that needs to meet liquor authority also. Or assuming we move forward with a conditional approval, because we are not held in public hearing yet.
Is that tonight?
Yes,
It's
that is
advertised for
tonight. Verbally talked with Corey Gates with regards to him wearing his fire marshal hat. And the statement for D, G, and F from Hillary Stott's April 23rd letter. And that deals with the spacing for the ambulance. G is the excavation. I cannot say it right now, I'm sorry. Evacuation plan, holy cow. For North Assembly Drive, east is 64, and to the south is through the business park. He was agreeable to that. And the emergency access roads are the exact same. He was agreeable to that also. So kind of what Don and I had talked about was if we move forward with positive, was conditioned that our fire marshal reviews those as they're set up and gives final approval. And there might be a slight change here or there based on what he sees. Did I miss anything else that we had talked about?
So hours of operation,
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, fellow planning board members, there was discussion, was it 11 o'clock?
okay,
11
so
o'clock.
The original one at midnight, right?
That's a,
The original one was midnight and then the agreement was 11 o'clock. Anything that pertains to this special use permit outside of her regular restaurant business. So basically moving inside at 11 o'clock, right?
so noon to 11, right?
Yeah.
or 11.
Noon to 11.
Noon to 11.
Noon to 11 is what the request was. Is that what it was at the last meeting, noon to 11?
Could we have an extension till midnight for the cleanup and the shutdown? So that the security could be there to finish off and clear the area?
I think we were talking about music vendors and the like.
Right, at 11,
At 11, okay. So then clean up from 11 to 12?
yes.
Okay.
I thought it was a little, she thought she could get everybody out by 11:30, she said. If that's what, I think I recall her saying, we'll end at 11 and we'll get everybody out and done
By
by 11:30.
11:30. Okay. And you're kind of talking about the vendors getting out from 11:30 to 12?
So 12, pack everything up and be out of there.
We'll probably a certain stage from the. It'll be done the next day.
I think Hillary addressed that in her letter about by Monday. Yes, all vendor tents, porta potties, et cetera, will be loaded, removed no later than the Monday following. How long do you think the setup would take? A day?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I heard her talking this day before for the stage and all that, yeah.
so should we have that and
I have hours of operation for patrons. Outdoor shall be limited from noon to 11 p.m.
okay.
I don't know that we need to get into, I think actually, code possibilities, time what set up and close. I saw that in here.
It's not gonna be a scenario where the carnival, sometimes they're setting up for a week, it seems like.
Oh, right.
Yeah, this is in the back of the parking lot,
Yeah.
you know. For the stage.
Here it is. It says all structures shall be removed from the premises within 30 days, but must be whatever I'm saying. I don't know, we can condition it on clean up and shut down if you want, or we can just deal with the hours for patron access.
I think patron access, I think Earl has pretty good point. We don't want the vendors there till 3 o'clock in the morning breaking down.
This is for 11 out of 12.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, the restaurant has to.
I think that even see some of the vendors breaking down. before.
That's what I'm thinking,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
you're right.
Everyone's ahead of it, yeah.
Don, you and I talked about line item N. The security will professionally supplied by David Bass, who's a retired state trooper. I don't think we wanted to get too much into his security plans, but I think we should have at least an outline of his plan submitted with it for final approval. David Bass, I run this company. We don't need insurance from him, do we? Because it's covered under Hillary's. Or if he's licensed security, we would need a copy of his license, correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Can we list it as additional insured? On a regular policy?
Wouldn't it be covered under their own policy at the structure, at the building grounds of the run, which would be 1964?
Yeah, I mean, all this is theoretical. If something happens to somebody, they can sue whoever they want.
She submitted her insurance.
I saw that there are some insurances already provided.
And you know what, I think we're also talking about, you guys had talked about approving the first one and then coming back for the next two, so we can work out if there's kinks, unforeseen situations, so.
That's one question I had here. She was saying, will I just get one or will it be for all three? But that makes sense.
And I think that's what we had talked about, informal conversations, and I think that's what you guys had led to.
Yeah, we said, let's start the first one. See how it plays out.
There are 10 people there.
Well, you know, and not to want to make her come back, that this is kind of an unusual situation, that I don't think we've seen a festival outside of the Mendon Station Festival or the Mendon Carnival. So, and I, you know,
Yeah.
as a resident, look at it as a planning board member.
What's going on with COVID is they need to go on.
I think she needs to abide by Department of Health regulations, and I think that's COVID falls under Department of Health.
She,
Yeah,
That's why she's doing it outside to begin with.
yeah.
Because she used to always do inside music, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and the music, I think we had also talked about the sound. Sound systems supplied by a vendor, and he's gonna use a meter reading the sound check and as needed, reading that sound check and as needed. Does he record that sound? And this is the question is, I don't want to get too far in depth at it, but I'd rather know that there's a problem. Do we want specific areas that he wants to sound check? I'm really thinking across 64 myself. I don't think too much to the north is the south. I'm thinking directly.
I think it's a mix of front street. I'm still there, I front street. Curve.
Right there and,
What do you mean, like by the line store or?
I think directly across.
That's what I was
64.
thinking, right
Yeah,
across,
directly
yeah.
across 64, get a sound reading there. I don't want to get into decibels of it within it, but it needs to adhere to the town amendment noise ordinance, basically what it comes down to, or sound check. Should we have him confirm that, or?
I would, what I have in there now is regular sound checks with sound meter to ensure music / noise is in compliance with code.
Okay.
And the reality is, if it's not, when they come back around for their next one, we'll know about it.
Okay.
If if it's not shutting it down in the middle of it, it's gonna be a disaster. If we try, so it's kind of, they'll have their event. We'll see how it goes. We have these requirements in there. That's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, and he should check it at sound check at that point directly across the street. Or, like, right by the road, on his side of the road. This way we're not sending them across the state road.
Are we okay with their parking plan? It sounds like park and shuttle. Is that what's gonna be happening?
Yeah, by volunteers.
Sure, plus surrounding.
Yeah, park over there, yeah.
So there'll be a signage that says no parking here or parking for the festival.
Yeah, I think it's Explorers, is that a group here? That, they're gonna be helping doing the stuff.
Was there any conversation with, is it Mendon Commons, business plan? Mendon Village Commons? That's the ice cream store,
Oh,
Krabby
yeah,
Dan's,
Krabby Dan's
yeah.
and all that. I would think she was hitting everybody else, you would think she would have been over there.
I didn't see anything from Chief. I think, if that was my plaza, I would think that I would want.
I think she was saying that
We're
that's an
very fair.
opportunity for them,
Yes.
yeah, to sell more stuff and all of that stuff. too.
But, we would want to make sure that they had, I think she was gonna give cones to people that cone off.
Oh,
for
yeah,
regular
they'll go,
customers.
yeah.
So I think that would be a condition, offer them to neighboring,
To offer, what?
offer cones to neighboring businesses if they wanted to block off for their regular customers. I think that was her original letter. It wasn't in the April 23rd, but yeah, I think you're right. In her, letter of intent, I think she said that.
Yeah.
No. I know, I saw it.
Also, I put it in there. Got your condition in there.
And then, she states in the application, she's shooting for 300 people throughout the day, not necessarily at a time. Personally, I don't know if I really want to get into the number of people on there with this condition. I don't know how my fellow planning board members feel about this. I think that kind of falls to her security and her.
Yeah, man, I agree, you give a parameter and that's.
I agree more. So I guess what I'm taking a look at this is problems that I could see arising would be traffic, noise, unruly crowds. Traffic, it sounds like you have parking, the signage, correct? Unruly crowds, you have paid security, noise, we have a sound check. And what we're kind of doing is we're going to be looking at that first one. This is what we're looking at, and then come back for future ones, see if we missed anything. Correct?
Right.
With regards to seeker, how do we treat this?
That's a good question. Take a quick look at the
Okay.
type 2 list.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna do one, which makes sense, and then wait and see, the next one she wants to do in July, like, will there be a meeting shortly after?
We meet the first and third Wednesdays every month.
Okay, so come to the first Wednesday then,
Yeah.
to say yes to the, hopefully, to the July one.
I think, when is the first one planned?
June 12th.
June 12th.
June 16, we have a meeting.
Oh, okay, there you go,
Yeah.
that's great, yeah. It'll be fresh in your
Yeah.
mouth.
Don, would it be? I think that's enough time, June 16th. June 12th is the first one.
Yeah, find out
I
what
strongly
happens.
recommend.
Yeah, fresh in your mind.
Yeah,
When's the next one?
Six,
Gonna be like July 12th, whatever that
June,
middle of
July
July
12th.
is.
So we would have to advertise for the public hearing. Because we would have to do another public hearing, correct? And that would, the advertising for it, it would be fresh in everybody's mind as it's going on.
Yep.
Now, let me ask you this, if we're in June, and she goes back to July, we've already worked the kinks out, and then give her both, so she don't have to come back 2 meetings, and you don't have to have 2 times when the public is here.
And that's what I'm thinking, and I think, assuming you would want to do it in subsequent years, I think we would look at it each year, if you want to do 3 days. And then what I think if we can condition our approval, like for 2 of them, is if there's trouble, if traffic stopped on 64, somebody complains to our code enforcement officer, you've got to come back, we need to address it. So if that happens in July, she would have to come back to the August one.
Just needs just tweaks.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, we don't want to, there's enough red tape, I think, we don't want to create more.
I think it's just technically an unlisted action.
Okay. Okay. So I think at this point, unless there's more questions from my fellow planning board members, it's a good time to open up the public hearing with regards to this. Everybody agree? So we will open up the public hearing.
Well,
There is no public present.
You were.
Well, we'll leave the public open. We have more than one chair tonight, so. Happy about that. We'll leave the public hearing open. Don, I don't know if you had a chance to draft an example on determination. I mean, everything I'm hearing right now is positive. Usually what I do is I look at reasons is why would I vote for approval? Why would I vote for denial? The plan that I see that Hillary has put together, I think she's answered every question that we've had for her, and she's put a lot of thought into it. Like I said, sound, traffic, security, and I think she has planned for all 3 of those. So everything that I'm looking at is leaning towards approval at this point in time. So with that, and Ed, I think you drafted up one for us to.
Yeah,
consider.
I drafted up the conditions.
Okay.
So do you want to make a move to approve? Subject to, and I can go through the conditions if you want.
Okay, well, we still have the public hearing open right at this point, and
For all those public here.
yeah, for all the public here, and then we would have to do seeker, right? So it's been open for 5 minutes, we don't have any public,
there's nobody on Zoom.
nobody on Zoom, so we are more than accessible. I will make a motion if it's advisable after 5 minutes to close this public hearing.
Yeah.
Do I hear a second? I have a second from Tom. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, are you going to work seeker right into the approval?
Yeah, I think you can make a motion to, we're playing this right now, right?
That's what I'm leaning towards. I think, you know, yes, I think we identified there's potential impacts for seeker on traffic and noise.
Yeah.
I sure hope you can smell barbecue, but that's, you know, that's not outside of the ordinary. Traffic, noise and security, and I think that the mitigation is, she's provided plans. And we are conditions of asking for, the security plan also further mitigated. So I guess what I would be saying then, so what you're looking for would be for a conditional approval and negative declaration with seeker.
Yeah.
And then you'll read off the conditions to us and then we'll find who we need.
Yes. I'm gonna write awareness for your written options based on this. What's the date of this one again?
12th of June.
So is she, obviously I'm sure she's been planning this for a good bit, with a lot of legwork in.
Right.
You know,
and
how
that's
many
what she said out
stands?
loud.
Yeah, how many bands she's looking
Yeah.
at musicians, she's got a lot of them lined up, or?
Well, I think every hour, but I mean, some of them are the small ones, you know, like the twosomes or trios, and, you know, it's not like Kiss is coming, or something, you know,
It's not another Woodstock. and-
right.
It's hard to know what I'm playing. Perfect for lunch.
I think I've read in the last week, in the meeting minutes when she was here before, was, looking at maybe like some kids activities
Yeah.
during the day.
Bubbles, you know, and I think just a nice place to be during a nice day, so hoping it's a nice day, you know.
There's one suggestion I would probably make that, I know they have vendors, and I don't know if like pizza D's or Clemenza's, or they have pizza there or not, but that might be something to do. Because you might find some kids don't like hamburgers, don't have, they all have pizza.
You know, something I overheard, I wanna say a Salvatore's kids donate. Some balls, like 3 of them or something.
Is there still a something?
No, not Salvatore, downtown Huntington Falls. But I think one of the gals that was saying, friend of her, you know, I'm not sure what she's formalized, but you're saying, why not have a?
I think that would rattle Clemenza's and.
Yeah, I
No, not red, but you know, motivated to, hey, hey, hey.
Yeah.
That person needs pizza and Clemenza's,
Yeah,
actually in the hammer.
right.
Rick, I'm thinking there should be a wing contest somewhere.
So I have a proposed resolution. In terms of seeker, do you want to go through the form in detail, or do you just want to move it for a negative declaration based on our discussion we already had?
Yeah, I think moving on to the discussion that we already
Okay.
had, I think we identified the traffic and the sound.
Okay, so I can read a resolution and then you can present and move it if you find it to be fit.
Okay.
And then I can email it to you if they approve it. All right, Whereas Hillary Stott has made application for a special profit entertainment event for 1369 Pittsburgh Mendon Road for the date of June 12. And whereas the planning board has reviewed such application and associated materials, now therefore be resolved that the planning board has considered all potential environmental impacts associated with the application and finds that there are no likely significant adverse environmental impacts, hereby issues a negative declaration. And be it further resolved that the planning board hereby approves the application subject to the following conditions. All required Department of Health approvals relative to food service are required. All required liquor licensing for the service of alcohol is obtained. Compliance with any COVID-19 requirements of any federal, state, or other agencies with jurisdiction. Written approval of emergency access plan by the fire marshal. Hours of operation for patrons outdoors shall be limited from noon to 11 p.m. and all vendors to exit the property no later than midnight. Letter to be provided by security confirming dates and times security services will be provided. Regular sound checks with sound meter to ensure music and noise is in compliance with code. And an offer of traffic cones to neighboring businesses should they wish to prohibit parking. Get it all?
I think, maybe not, tools for traffic, maybe it's a signage. You know, it's cones or signs, some kind of implement that says no.
Event parking.
No event parking.
Okay, I put cones / signage.
Okay, yeah, I think that would be.
Okay. Cones / signage.
So 9 conditions, what I heard, I will still move.
I have a question.
Yes.
We have to note in there that she received the variance from the zoning board for the acreage.
Yeah, I can add that as a whereas, yeah. For less than 50 acres, correct?
Right.
Added.
I so moved. More, further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Shall be in contact with the conditions. You know, you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is public comment. General discussion.
I will not be here next meeting. Bonnie or Mary, I believe Bonnie is filling in for me. But you only have one thing on it, sickle site plan.
Sickle site plan, we have 3 options, right? Letter of, well, 2 options, letter of recommendation, positive or negative for the town board, or no comment.
All right, is that all we're meeting for, is to issue a letter of recommendation? I mean,
We're waiting for the ECB to give their recommendation on it. Yeah,
yeah.
Oh, I believe I have that.
We have a problem if it was advertised, not advertised for tonight.
I don't have a problem either way. I kind of knew my position 2 months ago on this, so.
Please hold.
Board members, do you
Please
have any
hold.
issue if we talk about it tonight? No. Because we have nothing else on the agenda.
No, so I do not. I have Rossi, Austin, and then 2 others.
So nothing from them.
No, not yet.
Yeah, I don't mind whether we talk about it now, next time, or both. I sort of formed my opinion months ago and it hasn't changed, and I don't think it will. And I'm happy to share it.
I drove by the site today. We you have a conservation easement for a reason. They have plenty of space to build on. And their argument for allowing to go into there is aesthetic. And that conservation easement, please correct me if I'm wrong, was put place in the 1980s.
I don't have it.
And the plans that they
See,
gave.
they haven't sent them.
Show the trees or the steep slope that they're gonna do. And all they say is it's a very small area of the overall bed. Now, I think I think he should be able to make his case for going into the fad. We asked for the letter of intent. I think we got a line email that says I want to go into it. That's pretty small overall.
Yeah, I didn't find that letter very telling.
And I did not either.
What's the address on that?
It's Carolina Drive. It would be,
No, Carolina Drive's the one we just did. That's
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah,
it's off at 251.
yeah. Shown.
Whispering Meadows?
Yes, Whispering Meadows.
This is Sean. Retired.
I don't want to say I made up my mind before he made his case, but he's gonna need to make a very compelling case to change my opinion.
Well, not to us, though.
Well,
We
no,
can't
for
change
our recommendation. Right, my recommendation at this point would be for his approval of that relief. As one of 5.
I mean, the theory of putting conservation easement on something is that it's a permanent restriction. So if somebody can later decide, well, I want to build a house there. Kind of like, well, what's the point of putting conservation easement? I can see if there's some weirdly unique, compelling reason. Like this isn't actually wetland, or there's, gold buried here, or ancient relics we need to make, like something very unique. But in this case, it's, I want to build my house a little bigger and move it over here. I don't know if they got any great policy for the board. Especially given this appears to be part of a larger subdivision. And when you plan out a subdivision, you put a conservation easement that sort of impacts everything, all the lots of the subdivision, you place it a certain way, and these are the lots in the building area that you're left with.
Let's move it forward 25 feet is out.
I think you would still be in it with this grading. I don't even know if we have a regular scheduled process for this recommendation, do we?
No, I mean, it would be something you don't really have jurisdiction over it. I think perhaps as a courtesy, the town board asks for our input, since presumably this board approved the plan, the underlying plan. So I think, as a courtesy, they're saying, hey, look, we know you approved this plan. We're gonna take a look at this. Do you have any thoughts? Is the way I would see the request.
I know which way I'm leaning, but at the same time, we haven't seen the ECD report, and he has not had a chance to state his case in person.
That was the last lot on the subdivision, right? To be called.
I'm not sure. I think you might be right.
And that's why it wasn't, because of the conservation, which devalued it. And now we have 70% of the house.
And then conservation easement was there long before he bought that lot.
Right.
Yeah, and the other thing about this is, you have a lot of people who will buy something and say, they'll be told, well, this area over here is forever wild, right? And then lo and behold, it's developed. And 99% of the time, or we'll say 90% of the time, when someone's told by a real estate agent or a seller that something's forever wild, they're often just incorrect. In this case, where you have an actual conservation agent there, the intent actually is for it to be forever wild. You know, and so, you know, again, I think there's a high bar to undo that, right? Because the neighbors and the people in the neighborhood expect that to be preserved because it says that it's going to be preserved.
If it could be moved for that lot, then it could be moved for all the other lots.
And there's a lot of conservation easements in the town.
I was just gonna say that same thing, you don't want to set a precedent because, you know, then it's gonna come right back in every time.
And people did a lot of work on this subdivision to set up those conservation easements in those areas. I mean, there's the easement right there, it's a few pages long.
It was originally done on a stone tablet.
That promotes us.
Etched it right in.
Fellow planning board members, I think we should give the ECD and give the applicant a chance to say things to the person. Agree. Draft a letter. I think the letter has to be this. I think the only way.
You want to, do you ask me to do that ahead of time, or do you want me to see what he says?
You could do it ahead of time if you want. I mean, we can change it, it's on the computer, right? It's easy enough to change it, but.
Yeah, I'll put a note to myself.
Like we're getting busy. That time of year. As we get closer to summer, please remember to contact Michelle. You're gonna be on vacation or not be here. So we can make sure we have a forum. Where's your backup, Connie?
For now.
If anybody sends an email to you and you happen not to be around, does anybody read that email?
So I will be working from vacation. So if you send me an email, I will get it. Yes. It might not be as prompt as normal, but yeah, I will answer you within the day.
We're gonna submit for overtime, right?
Yeah, well, of course. No,
10
I will.
and
35. I work for the government. Well, Tom's gone. I can actually take vacation now.
All right. So next meeting, civil site plan. Any further discussion? If not.
Somebody make the motion. Thank you.
For second. All in favor?